All right, so factor this. You need to know the shortcut for the difference of squares. What the difference of squares means that if you could take the square root of the first thing and the square root of the second thing and it's separated by a negative, a minus, then you can do this shortcut, which is basically if you can take the square root of the first and the square root of the second and separate by a negative. What you do is the square root of the first, so it's the square root of 16, 4. What's the square root of y to the fourth power? Y squared. And I'm going to show you that on the side. So remember, break it down. That's 4 times 4, right? This is 4 y's. And then make your book. So there's a book of 4 outside. There's a book of y. And there's another book of y. So it's 4y squared. All right. Square root of the first thing, square root of the second thing. So the square root of this. So remember, this is 16 z's. I'm not doing this 16 times. But basically, if you were to do it 16 times, how many books you would have? You'd have 8. Because it'll be like every pair, right? So this is going to be, square root of 4 is 2. And the square root of z to the 16th power is going to be z to the 8th. So you write the same thing twice, the square root of the first thing, the square root of the second thing, and then one is plus and one's minus. So that's the shortcut for the difference of squares. All right, so the difference of squares says that if you could take the square root of the first thing and the square root of the second thing, and it's separated by a negative, then you can use this shortcut. And what it means is you take the square root of the first thing, so the square root of 9 is 3. The square root of x squared is x, because remember, this breaks down to 3 times x times x. There's a book, and there's another book. So square root of the first thing is 3x. Square root of the next thing of 81 is 9. And you write it twice, and then it's plus or minus. So the difference of squares, if you can take the square root of the first thing, the square root of the second, and separate it by a negative, the answer is the square root of the first, the square root of the second, 2 times, and then plus and minus. All right, write a factored function with these zeros. So if this is 0, so it's saying x is equal to 10 over 11, and or x is equal to negative 2. Okay, that's my final solution. To write it in factored form, okay, actually I'll do it separately. It's like saying something has to equal 0 equals, or actually, you know what, let me do it this way, sorry. X equals 10 over 11, and I want the right-hand side to be 0. So because I want the right-hand side to be 0, I need to get rid of this 11. How do I get rid of this 11? If I multiply both sides by 11. So that goes away. So now I have 11x equals 10. How do I make this 0? I take this to the other side. What's that going to become? 11x minus 10 equals 0. That's what I'm looking for. So that's my first factored form, 11x minus 10. Okay, my next one has to equal x equals negative 2, but I want this right-hand side to be 0. So for it to be 0, I need to take this across the river. I'm going to change it from negative 2 to what? Positive 2. So that's going to be x plus 2, and that's going to give me my 0. So that's my next factored form. All right, the reason being is, remember, when you're solving for factored forms, you'd cover that up, and you'd solve that. X plus 2 is 0, so you take that, it would be x minus 2. Same thing over here. 11x minus 10 equals 0. Take the 10th outside, 10, then divide by 11. All right, I'm going to do one more. Say factored form of, I'm just going to make up some number, negative 7 over 8 and negative 2. Okay, so again, if they're telling you x is equal to this, so I'll do the first one, 7 over 8. And I want to get rid of this number. I want to put this number on the other side, but I don't want any fractions. So let's get rid of the fraction. So multiply both sides by 8. So I have 8x equals negative 7. I want this side to be 0, so I take this to the other side. It's going to be what? Plus 7. So I have 8x plus 7 equals 0. And now I'm finished with that. So this can be rewritten as that. So 8x plus 7 is one of the factored forms. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing to this one. X is equal to negative 2. I want nothing on this side, so I'm going to take this to the other side. What does it change to? Plus 2. So x plus 2 equals 0. So there's nothing on that side. So this is the other factored form. And you can check it, because if I cover this up, x plus 2 is 0. Take this other side, it's going to be minus 2. That's true. And if I cover this up, I'll take this other side, be negative 7, then divide by 8. So it'll be that. All right, vertex and y-intercept of this. So anytime you have something in standard form, you have to remember that equation, x is equal to negative b over 2a. And then you need to just label your stuff. So it always goes, a is the one with x squared, b is the one with the variable, and c is the one by itself. So this is a, this is b, and this is c. A, b, c. And all you got to do is plug it in. So it goes minus b, which is negative 12, over 2, and a, which is what? 6. So that's going to be a negative, and a negative is a positive 12. 2 times 6 is 12, so that means x is equal to 1. So the x value is going to be 1. Now we need to find the y value. To find the y value, you're going to plug this everywhere you see x. Everywhere you see x. So there's no x there. So I'm going to rewrite it again. So 6. Everywhere I see the variable, I'm just going to put parentheses, and I'm just writing this equation out. Plus 3. So everywhere I see x, I'm going to put 1. So I'm going to put 1 right there, and then work it out. 1 squared is 1, times 6 is 6, minus 12 times 1 is 12, plus 3. And of course, you could just punch this in the calculator. 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 minus 12 is negative 3. So my vertex is 1, negative 3. My y-intercept, whenever it's standard form, is always c. So my y-intercept is 3. So here's my vertex, and that's my y-intercept. Find the maximum or minimum of this. Okay, so remember, maximum or minimum. The number outside, is it positive or negative? It's positive. So that's good or bad? That's good. So it's a happy face, which means this has a minimum. So the answer has to be a minimum. All right, find the minimum. It happens at the vertex. So you just need to find the vertex. To find the vertex, this is in vertex form. And so remember, that's going to be a x minus h squared plus k. And you have to make it look like this. Does that look like this? Not quite, because it has a 7. Then it has to go x minus some value, but this is plus. So whenever you have plus, you have to make it minus minus, because minus minus will give me plus squared and then minus 4. Now it looks the same, so this is h and this is k. So my vertex is at negative 5 and negative 4. So my minimum happens at the value negative 4. My minimum value is negative 4. Or it happens at my vertex, however you want to say it. All right, graph this. All right, in order to graph this, you need to find a few things. You need to find the vertex, the y-intercept, and a couple of points so that you can draw the parabola. So let's start with the vertex. To get the vertex, you're going to do negative b over 2a. So label your a, b, c. Oh, I was missing an x here. A, B, C. All right, so first off, it's going to be negative. So that means good or bad? Bad. So it's going to be like this. So if this is multiple choice, it is going to be looking like this. So anything that doesn't look like that, you can get rid of. Minus b is minus b, which is negative 16, over 2 times a, which is 2. So minus and minus is going to be positive 16 over 2 times 2 is 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So my x value for my vertex is 4. To find my y value, plug it in. So rewrite this with parentheses around the variable. So that's 2 parentheses squared minus 16 parentheses minus 34. And now we're just going to plug in 4. So y equals, just take your calculator and punch it in. It'll just be faster. And you're just punching in what you see. So 2 parentheses 4, 4 squared, 4 parentheses, my bad. 4 parentheses squared minus 16 parentheses 4 minus 34. I'm just gonna make sure you did that right. So that'd be 16 times 2. 16 times 2 is 32. Minus 64 minus 34. Yeah, so it's the same thing, which is 66. So y is 66. So my vertex happens at 4 and 66. Okay, so it's download, it's facing down like this. My vertex is 466, and it crosses the y-intercept there. So if I was to draw this, I would draw a vertex of 4 and positive 66. Let me go up in 20s. 20, 40, 60, 80. So 4 is 66 somewhere over here. It's going to face down, and it crosses at 34. 34 somewhere over here. So it looks something like that.